just because they got rid of negative gearing doesn't mean property investors are going to pay more tax. I think that's where people are confused. And in some instances, they're actually going to pay less tax. Okay, let's have a look at this example. $1 million property, $800,000 loan, it rents for $850 a week. So it loses $15,800 a year. Now, under the old system, yes, you could claim this loss against your personal income. And if you're in a 37% bracket, you get a reduction in your tax. Now, under the new system, you can only offset this loss against residential property income. But let's assume that you only own one property, you're not going to sell it, and therefore this loss is going to accumulate against the property, and you can offset this loss with future income once the property becomes positively geared, okay? And this is where things get important. We're gonna have a look at this timeline. It's an 11-year timeline, 6% rental growth. The loan's gonna stay the same. And in the first 6 years, the property is still losing money. In the next 5 years, it's become positively geared and it's making money because of the growth in the rent. Now, under the old system, this $51,000 loss against these 6 years would be able to be claimed against your personal income. So you'd have a reduction in your tax payable across these 6 years. And then when the property became positively geared, you'd have an increase in your tax payable because of the income from the property. Now, in the new system, what happens is the income in these 5 years is offset by the previous loss. So instead of having a reduction in tax and then an increase in tax, you simply offset the gain with the previous loss. So the important point of this, you don't pay any more tax just because they've gotten rid of negative gearing. Now, the second important point is this actually plays into wealthy people's hands more, because if you are an everyday Australian, okay, who's tight on cash flow, you might need this tax reduction to be able to hold the property. If you're a wealthy person, well, you probably don't care. You'll just offset against the future income. But thirdly, and most importantly, okay, if you have increased into a higher tax bracket in these later years, well, under the old system, you may have got a reduction at, say, 37%, and you may have a liability at 47% tax. Okay, that's under the old system. Under the new system, they simply offset each other. So there's a chance that you actually pay less tax overall under the new system.